Welcome to a new Open Jaw series where you will get to know everything you ever wanted to know about corporate travel. How juicy is that?
Should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing we're going to do is introduce a association that you may not have heard of. It's the Canadian Corporate Travel Association, and I have the pleasure of having the co-chairs with us today. And before we get into answering some of the questions, the burning questions around the role of the CCTA, I'm just going to tell the viewers who the various retail groups that are part of the association. So there's BCD Travel, Travel Edge, Amex GPT, represented by Patrick Doyle here today, Vision Direct, Uniglobe, Premier Travel, TTI Travel with Rocco today, Maritime Travel, Carlson Wagonly, Agencia, and Merit Biz. So let's start with the purpose of the association, because like ACTA, I'm presuming you are looking to work towards the benefit of various TMCs and corporate travel retailers across Canada. Would that be correct?
It would. I think the couple key things, and then Rocky can add to it, right?
Sure.
It's really to promote managed travel, corporate travel across the industry. And then I think the second piece is really to represent the industry and work with suppliers and partners in the ecosystem of corporate travel to make sure things flow well for ultimately the traveler and corporations.
So it brings to mind the idea of collusion in terms of looking towards having potentially better pricing and that sort of thing. Rocky, talk to that.
Actually, that's a very good point, Nina. We are very careful when we come together to ensure that we're sensitive to that issue. So therefore, we never talk about pricing, we never talk about professional fees, we never talk about revenue relationships we have with anyone that we potentially could bias or share information. So that's an important part of our constituency or our constitution of how we do business.
One of the things I find so interesting about your side of the business is we put so much focus on leisure in this industry. And, you know, I know you have the media that caters to your own counselors, advisors, etc. But on my side of the business, you're almost a bit invisible in a sense. And yet you drive huge numbers. I understand 4.2 billion in Canada. That's a lot of money. And 40% estimated market share.
That's just amongst the 10 travel companies, which we represent only 40% of corporate travel spend. So
in Canada.
So the pie is more closer to 10 billion.
That's insane. That's
Exactly.
An insane amount of money. So, and then I look at 8.7 million transactions and 4.3 million travelers served. That's an enormous amount of business that you guys are putting through amongst the 10 of you. So let me ask you, Patrick, what do you see as the biggest challenge that you face for your industry?
Yeah, let me just add to the numbers for a second,
Yeah.
and then I'll talk about the challenge.
I love adding to numbers.
Because I think the numbers actually talk to, you know, what's the space look like. But actually, when you think of a corporate traveler, what are they doing? They're going to grow a company's business. So take that and say, you know, you've got $4.2 billion in transactions going through, or 4.3 million travelers going out there every day to grow somebody's business, whether they're small, medium enterprise or a large corporation. So they're getting on the road to grow the business. When I think of the challenges, I go back to thinking about travelers. Travelers, you know, the challenge we face today is how do you make the travel solutions that you're offering to corporations more consumer-like? I think it's a challenge as well as an opportunity, right? So travelers have expectations that their corporate travel experience is going to align with, as you talked about, a leisure travel experience. And I think the opportunity that we all face, as well as the challenge, is continuing to offer solutions that will meet those needs going forward, whether that's technology, whether that's apps, or whether that's just the experience.
What do you mean by align more with a consumer experience or a leisure experience?
Maybe I can
Sure.
Speak to that also. In addition to what Patrick is saying, which is how I was going to answer the question around challenge, is if we actually speak to a specific constituent, which would be the millennial traveler. Mm-hmm. Now, the millennial traveler as we all know, is very familiar with self-booking themselves, doing their own research, looking beyond what the typical travel agency information, the typical travel information would provide to them. So we on the corporate travel space also have to understand that our travelers and travel managers have access to all this information, and they expect when we consult and advise their corporate travelers that we bring in all those that pieces of the information to the forefront, because we know they know about it, we need to know about it. So ultimately, we've now developed a collaborative travel experience. It's not it's not in the old traditional days where people called us and we had all the information and shared it with them. They come loaded with information, and they kind of use us in a collaborative way to make sure that we are getting them to where they want to get to, such that we provide the corporate travelers their own self-booking tools, which is a very important component. Very different than the leisure traveler. We don't expect our leisure travel, well, actually I shouldn't say that. Leisure travelers can actually book leisure travel through an online booking tool, but we actually use the corporate travel tool as a means for them to source out their flight options, their hotel options, their car rental options. And the nice thing about that is all of that information gets congregated and into our back offices. So if they're booking with an advisor or they're booking online, we collect all that data. And through that data is where we, as Patrick mentioned, call it managed travel. Once we have data, then we can manage the relationship.
Yeah, and you provide all the statistics, et cetera.
I think when Rocky talked about bringing things together, really you're talking about bringing content, right? So a corporate traveler has done some research, or the EA might have done some research, and they know what they want to book. You got to make sure you have the content, whether it's in an online booking tool or through the consultant or counselor or advisor that's doing it. And I think that's a challenge as well as the opportunity and where we're going as an industry.
So when you look at so-called leisure travel, all these new words that we've got to keep up with, and you, of course, obviously someone who's going to go to Vienna or Nice or wherever, somewhere in the US, New Orleans, and they want to bring their family after their conference is done. How do you split that, and how do you provide them with the information? That's got to be a serious challenge for some of your advisors.
Certain advisors are very good at that, at blending the corporate side and the leisure side. It truly is a specialized advisor that can do both. A lot of our advisors are very corporate centric, and a lot of advisors are very leisure centric. So having that leisure is a rare advisor and very much in demand if you can actually have someone that's very good at that type of thing.
The other part they look for a corporate travel manager or company to do is help them advise on what the policy should look like.
Perfect.
So what's the risk attached, whether I should offer this to travelers or not, whether it should only be offered to a certain degree or level of travelers going forward. But I think they're looking for companies like Rockies and ours and others within CCTA to give them advice on what others are doing in the industry.
Right.
What's the risk attached to it, and how do you offer or extend travel, or should you even do it?
Right.
Now, you both represent a different aspect of the corporate side. You, as Amex GBT, having just taken over HRG, large corporate environment, a lot of consolidation in the industry. You remain independent. So from your perspectives, do you see the consolidation that has occurred over the last 2 years as a benefit to the corporate traveler? Or obviously from your perspective, you won't see it as a negative, but talk to me about the landscape in Canada.
Yeah, I think it's been a benefit, right? We're coming up to almost 1 year of an anniversary on the acquisition of HRG, the integration of the two companies. Benefit is you're bringing two companies together with similar footprints, similar tech roadmaps and ideas on where we wanted to take travel. So that's only going to make it happen faster. So I think that's where the benefit. The landscape actually, it points to the earlier discussion on the numbers. There's tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
There's opportunity for everyone in the business in Canada to grow. And there's still a lot of unmanaged travel that I think as corporations either grow from small, if you look at today, some startups in the cannabis industry in Canada, as those companies grow, they're going to look to have some managed programs and manage their program. And I only use that as one example of an industry. But you look at tech industry across Canada continuing to grow, AI industry, small companies that might be 20, 30 employees today that could be 300 tomorrow. And they're going to be looking for managed travel solutions in the future.
So as Patrick's organization and other large travel management companies, we refer to them as large enterprise companies, they're very good at servicing large enterprise corporations that look for global solutions. So through consolidation, it enables them to have more resources to invest in technology, invest in duty of care, invest in capturing managed reporting and all those things that are very important to corporate travelers. How this has impacted
how do you compete
the
with that?
mid-market agency
Right.
is, as people are going more large enterprise, we have decided to make more of a choice around customized solutions. So more of a boutique travel management company, companies that are looking for more of that high-touch service model, that ability to provide leisure travel to everyone within their corporation. So we have to become much more specialized and maybe work on certain industries that value that type of an environment. Whereas, and so basically, like every other industry, there's a shifting, a parting of the ways. Large enterprise, more custom boutique. So that's what's happening in the marketplace.
On the leisure side, one of the biggest challenges is personnel, right? Where a lot of people are aging, and it's hard to get younger people to who are well trained to join the companies. Is it the same on the corporate side?
I think it's similar. I think the difference is, and Rocky talked about different agencies trying to look at different paths, right? If you look at where we're going, it's investing, as Rocky said, in technology, in automation. So it allows for you to find consultants that may not need to know everything about the industry, but can be quickly trained. So you're able to bring people in from university or school that have an interest in the industry and grow. So you're finding new talent in different ways. If you look at what Rocky described and where his organization's going, I think again allows for you to have different talent that you're able to attract from different areas.
Yep.
You're not traditionally going for the same sources of talent as you have in the past.
And of course, with the technology, presumably you will need less people, less manual human intervention, which then creates an opportunity for you, I would imagine, on the pleasure side and luxury and all of those other areas that
Exactly.
corporate people are looking at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so specialized, really. I mean, especially in terms of needing the technology to back you up. Do you see opportunities for any of the leisure agents? I just want to close with that, who are listening to us, to tap into this $10 billion market?
I would say yes, and the reason being is if you think of the 10 billion and of our group only managing almost half of that, a little less than half, there's still opportunity because the part of the business that doesn't go online requires high-touch agents.
Right.
Counselors that understand what it means to deliver great service, listen effectively, and book effective travel for transactions, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge opportunity for leisure travelers, counselors to move into the corporate space.
Nina, I would find it hard pressed that any person who's an advisor out there, a leisure advisor, that some of his clients they're not booking their corporate travel side because they have such a strong relationship with them that when they do need some corporate travel advice, they're there to provide that. So most leisure advisors also have some of their clients that travel for business purposes.
Okay.
So, and therefore, part of what CCTA and the big part of what CCTA is all about, what Patrick mentioned in the beginning, is we're looking after the particular interest of the corporate traveler, making sure that they have a seamless end-to-end experience, they're safeguarded, we know where they are in the world, we can come back to the corporations and help not only look after the travel, but also looking after the dollars that they spend. And so it's definitely interesting, and it's interesting coming from someone like yourself who's been involved in the industry for so many years, how little you know about our side of the business.
Exactly.
Right?
I'm a total novice
Yeah.
when it comes to your side, which is part of the impetus for wanting to do this series. I get to learn at the same time that our viewers do, and we hope you continue to watch because we're going to have some great topics coming up with some of the other players in the CCTA. We're going to touch on distribution, the challenges there, changes to the industry on that side, the back end, the issues that you talked about, safety, security,
Yes.
governance. All of those issues are huge, I think, as the planet gets smaller and smaller.
Yes.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for this.
Thank you for your
Nina,
time.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Patrick,
Thank you.
thank you.